Hello. I think I actually succeeded in getting my sound turned on at the right moment. Hello, everyone. I'm looking at the chat and enjoying the comments on how people are answering. How are you? It's good to see all of you here. It is a rather unexciting Tuesday evening in Southern Illinois. I think the most exciting thing that happened today is the weather went from spring to it's snowing. Why is it snowing? I only have a spring coat. Oh, expletive, it's snowing. That was kind of my day. But as you can see from the steam rising up through the image, I have hot tea. I'm ready to go. It's good to see you too, Iceman 48. So our purpose here this evening is to hopefully finish up a animation I'm doing of how variable stars vary. And Fenmel's commenting that Venus and Mercury are so close to each other. They're 2 degrees apart. And yeah, the cloudy weather. I think that Big J and I kind of cursed ourselves because we have new telescopes and Orion is beautifully placed. And we wanted to use the new telescopes to look at Orion. And that means that it has to be cloudy. The universe requires it. So I hop on an airplane Friday to head off to a conference in Israel. There won't be a stream next Tuesday. Big J will be taking over my stream on Sunday. Actually, he might take over the stream on Tuesday as well. I won't be here next Tuesday. I will hopefully be very, very much asleep this time next Tuesday while I'm in a place that is GMT +2, I think. It may be more than that. But for now, I'm here and we're going to work on software. I see someone commenting on the 2 degrees of separation that currently applies to Mercury and Venus. This means they are, hold up 2 of your fingers. They're 2 fingers apart roughly. Now someone is commenting, Paranor is commenting on how that's a good Kevin Bacon. So in science, we actually have a different number. We go by the Erdős number. This is a mathematician that was somewhat vagabond. He would essentially go from place to place, live with other prominent mathematicians, work on solving a bunch of problems. Itinerant, that's probably a better word. He was an itinerant mathematician. He would travel from place to place, settle in, write a bunch of math papers with people, and then move on to the next place. And so in the sciences, we often ask, he was Hungarian, Fenmel, that's true. We often ask, what is your Erdős number? And I actually have an Erdős number of 4. Now, the interesting thing is there is a small number of us that have both a Kevin Bacon number and an Erdős number because of various television work we've done. And in order to make this happen, most of us are actually including television credits. So if you're willing to include television credits to get a Bacon number, I actually have an Erdős Bacon number of 6, which I'm entirely pleased with, which means in my case, I am 2 degrees of separation away from Kevin Bacon, and I'm 4 degrees of separation away from Erdős. So yes, randomness that has nothing to do with variable stars. Hello, Ulysses. Welcome this evening. Hello, Sidemit. We're slowly gathering a healthy group tonight. I don't have all the stats. I have many of the stats that are useless for most things. I am a keeper of much random information. Okay, so the real reason that we're here this evening is actually to take a look at variable stars. I'm going to go ahead and switch views so that you can see the part of my screen that I'm working on. Now, I'm currently loading up software called Processing. It's taking it a moment to open up. I rebooted my computer to try and get things going as quickly as they could go, and then it turns out my computer was slow to boot, so I didn't get everything reopened yet. Here's our software. And Processing, for those of you who are new, is a Java-like computer language. It actually compiles into Java that enables all sorts of really cool data visualization to be done really fast, really easy. And I've been working essentially an hour at a time to develop something cheesy, thoroughly cheesy. I'm okay with cheese, that you can just barely see. This is a star that is varying with time. And if you watch closely, it's actually changing in color as it varies with time. Now, if you also look closely up at the graph, there's a little itty bitty teeny circle. And as the star goes through its phase, the yellow dot moves. Now, this is not yet ideal. For instance, it's very hard to tell that one of these little yellow dots or one of these white dots has turned yellow. So there's little things that need tweaked. And I was in the process at the end of the last session of optimizing and generalizing my code. Optimizing and generalizing my code as well. So this is the path I'm going to continue on this evening. So I'm going to push my little variable star over here to the edge and pull my code up. I'm not sure I need a quantum computer Icarus factor. I definitely need a new computer, and this is one of those things where I am saving, and I'm really hoping that my savings account and Worldwide Developers Conference for Mac occurs at about the same time, so that I can get a new computer when the next round of computers is launched. Thanks, Eric, for the follow. That's awesome. No, Fenmel, Provel is not a kind of cheese. It is a make-believe thing of horror. Okay, but code is at least as interesting as cheese. Okay. So here you can see where I was starting to put things into variables so I could keep track of things using variable names. Here I have what's the average brightness. I drew some lines, and I basically made it as far in my optimizing last week as getting my plot outline with generalized variables, and then I kind of stopped. So let's go ahead, and this line here is the average brightness. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to be, it starts at the left-hand side of the plot. It starts in the bottom. It starts in the bottom minus the average. That moves it upwards. So it's offset from the bottom, and then I'm going to draw from, I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to draw from the left side all the way over to the right side, and then it's still at the exact same height the entire time. So I'm just going to copy and paste this variable. So all I did, if I did this correctly, is I took this line and I wrote it strictly in terms of variables. Oops, I did something wrong. I subtracted a variable twice. This is why you should test your code often, because you never know when you're going to have a typo that literally makes things come out crooked. Code is much stringier than cheese. That is true. That is true. And you have nothing to be sorry about, Paranor. I'm glad that you're here too, Eric. Okay, so we have a plot that has been plotted. It's always good to have a plot. And this right here is the evil, awful equation that describes my line. And this changes the color of my line. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing is my plot circles I currently just have described as size 5. Except, I'm thinking it would be kind of nice if I could change that radius so that when I have the colored circle, it could actually be embiggened. And as far as I'm concerned, embiggened is a real word. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add some, actually I'm not adding my drawing variables up there, am I? Where am I? Oh, thank you, Fenmil. You're an awesome human being. All the blueness, all of it. Thank you. And yes, I do use Macs for desktop computers. This is simply because I am addicted to Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. Thank you, Fenmil. I use Linux the rest of the time. I adore me some Ubuntu, but I also like my Adobe products. Okay, continuing on. I'm going to add some integers that describe my plot points. Why not? Plot points equal 5. That's what they start out with. Okay. Coming down here and looking at my if statement. Now, I had initially had only one thing in my if statement, so I didn't bother with curly braces. I was lazy. Now it turns out I actually have 2 things I need, so I'm going to put those curly braces in now. There we go. And I'm going to set my plot point, which we have many of. This is a plot with many points to make. Plot point equals, let's make it 15 for our regular, for our yellow points, and then plot point equals 5 the rest of the time. So let's see how this goes. Plot point does not exist. Why do you believe my story has no plot point? Because it was plural up here. Okay. Typos are a thing, and you're allowed to misspell things as long as you misspell them consistently. Now, the problem that I have is I set plot point everywhere, except then I didn't use it. So here, where I'm drawing my circle, I need to tell it to draw my circle the size of a plot point. Okay, let's try that. Okay, whoa, I have a giant yellow dot now. That is an overwhelmingly large yellow dot. Let's maybe make that a little bit smaller. Okay, overwhelmingly large yellow dot. I definitely embiggened it. It's true. It's true. It did get the point across. You can now thoroughly tell where in the plot you are. But wow. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to adjust is somewhere in here, I'm varying the color as I go, right here. And I'm not varying it a whole lot. I'm going from a yellow of 244 20666 to a yellow that's redder of 244 16666. I'm going to pull up a HTML color codes sampling and see if I can get colors that I like a little bit better. Now, tools exist for a reason, and one of those reasons is to just make everything we do a little bit easier. In this case, I just want to try out some different colors someplace nice and easy to interact with. So here's my first color, and I'm kind of happy with the yellow. What I'm not happy with is when it's aiming towards red. So currently I'm going down to 166. I'm going to try going down to 100. So that's a whole lot redder. This is where I'm going now. I want something that's more dramatic. Thinking that's pretty good. So my delta color is that, and I'm still going to start at 206 because I was happy with the 206, and now it should adjust all the colors for me. You're okay with the size of that dot? I needed the dot to be a little bit smaller. Hello, hexacosacoron. You have more. Your name just has way too many syllables. Can I just call you 600C? Which feels like it should be a bicycle tire size, but it's not quite a bicycle tire size. It is a well-proportioned dot. I'm quite pleased with my current dot. It is a pleasing dot. I'm also quite pleased with my color changes. It's now a lot easier to see. Wait, hold on. You should be yellowest right now. Why aren't you yellowest right now? Star, you're misbehaving. Okay, you should be getting redder and redder and redder. Somewhere my color is out of phase. So it's getting redder and redder and redder. Now it's getting yellower. Okay, so my color is out of phase by that correction term that I've remembered to add other places. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm just going to grab my phase offset. And I'm going to try and get my color to be back in sync. Problems you only have with pulsating variable stars. There we go. That's my phase constant. Let's see if it now lines up. Yeah, I started this a few weeks ago. No, not a lot of effort, but enough to keep things going. Oh, this particular stream I started 19 minutes ago, so you're fairly early here. And I now have red and big, and now it should shrink and get yellower as it shrinks if I did everything right. I did. Okay, so we have a star that is correctly changing colors. Okay, now what shall I change? I think now I need to figure out how to label things. And I have to admit, I always forget how to label things in processing. And I had code running a couple weeks ago that I can just pull up as an example. So I was running code before to simulate craters. For those of you who don't remember, this is what it looks like when you crater the moon for different intervals of time. So there's an interval of 50, an interval of 100, happy craters everywhere. And I labeled this. So I'm going to look to see what I did to be able to label. I remember I had to copy something into the sketch. Yes. Okay. I was intelligent, and because I liked myself, I left myself a comment that is useful. Just to repeat it once again, comments are things you do to show your future self that you like it. Always leave yourself comments. Unless, of course, you hate yourself, in which case don't leave yourself comments. Okay. It doesn't line up, and the person in me that used to use Fortran can't deal with code that doesn't line up. There we go. Okay. I hope your power does better, Ulysses. 600 Celsius? Is that really what it refers to? I need to scroll back up. At least, okay. Yes, that's a lot. I am so lost. I'm just going to yeah, I like the Fortran. Shh. Yes, I actually started in Fortran 77. Well, I started in Logo, but take that how you will. Okay, I grabbed my code for the text. I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to find where I did text, and I'm just going to copy it and see if I can get my labels to label. This is drawing the plot. I think under that is a good place to label the labels. Okay, let me close my creator code before I accidentally break it somehow, because that is something I would do. Let's try that, and that's going to be in entirely the wrong place, but right now I just want to get it to print. Now, the font must be located in the Sketches data directory. This means I need to copy a file between directories. I need to figure out where on earth I have all of this saved. There we go, Creator Simulator, processing folder. I put it someplace smart. I do not always do that. So I'm just copying the file into the correct directory. You guys can see what I'm doing. So here's my processing directory. I'm grabbing the Gravity file. I am putting it into the Cepheid file. And now I'm going to stop it, play it again, and I got nada, except I set my stuff to type in black. Let's try making that in white and see if maybe like white shows up on black better than black shows up on black. Sarcasm is part of programming. Okay, so I have a diagram. It's just not in the right place. I'm using processing. It's a for lack of a better phrase, a bastardized version of Java that it compiles out to Java, but it has a lot of built-in functionality that just makes everything easier for data visualization. Oh, I miss nor'easters. Nor'easters were one of the best parts of living in Boston, especially when snow days were involved. Be warm wherever you are, stalker. Okay. I need to move my label. Now, I'm going to try and center it, which means I actually just want to do width divided by 2. And for height, I'm going to try and put it beneath the bottom of the plot. So I'm going to do plot, bottom, and the numbers increase going down. So I'm going to add to plot bottom. Let's just use our good old-fashioned, I have no clue. I'm just going to put a number in. That's going to be way too much. I'm just going to put that number in. Let's see if that works. Oh, crud. So what I defined was where the left-hand edge of the word phase is. And so the left-hand edge of the word phase is centered, which is not the same thing as centering the word phase. So now I have to just sort of guesstimate. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I'm not feeling like finding it right now, so I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to call that good. That is a good place for the word phase to be. Now, I want to rotate my text 90 degrees if I can. And to do that, I need to look in the references. Paranor, are you playing Magic the Gathering somewhere? I played Magic the Gathering so much as an undergrad, and then I had an ex take all of my non-common cards, and it was the best and worst thing that ever happened because I no longer had cards worth playing with, which meant I no longer felt the need to buy more cards to play with, but I no longer played. It was a circle, but I was starting graduate school and I needed to declutter my life. Text align, text leading. Oh, they have all these exciting things. I want to rotate my text. Is there a way to do that? You are not telling me. Let's check what text align does. Nope, not it. This is where sometimes you just Google things. Rotate text processing .org, and let's put the site tag in front of that. Rotating text. Okay. The easy way is to call push matrix translate. I don't care that much. Okay. I'm going to be a lazy coder tonight, and I'm just going to put the letter B over here for brightness, and I'm going to be good with that because sometimes that's all you need. Because I'd like to try and... Oh, it stopped copying. We've hit this bug again. So there's this bug in processing where sometimes it's like, no, you're not allowed to copy and paste anymore. Not until you restart the software. I don't know what causes this bug. I just know I've hit it. So I'm going to quit processing. I'm going to save processing. I'm going to reopen processing because I like copying and pasting things rather than typing. So brightness is used for what we see, and L is used for the absolute luminosity, which implies that it's in ergs per square meter or some sort of crazy unit like that, and at a set distance. Magnitude is then the logarithmic version of that. I'm just using B for brightness because I don't want to imply in any way that this is absolute anything. And I'm not using either little m for observed magnitude or capital M for absolute magnitude. Because reasons. There aren't any. I might as well use the letter M. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to use a lowercase m. Actually, I can probably just write the little lowercase word mag. So let me scroll down to where I was labeling things. And line my text up. And I'm going to go all lowercase all the time right now. So I want this to be on the left side of my plot, but more left. So I'm going to subtract 100 and try not to fall off the screen. And I'm going to put this what is hopefully halfway up. So I'm going to start at the plot bottom plus plot height divided by 2.0 because floats. Okay, let's see what that gets me. Oh, I had a addition versus subtraction problem on where I put that word. Let's try subtracting this because lower numbers are at the top, bigger numbers are at the bottom, which is the opposite of how we do things in astronomy. So it leaves me forever slightly confused. Let's make that at 50. Almost. I'm getting closer. There. So now I have a phase magnitude diagram. You guys are just rotating through units. This is a pulsating variable star, Ulysses. It's a kind of star that changes in brightness and color over time as it oscillates due to essentially standing waves inside. Hello, Michael. Oh, I'm glad to hear your snow has gone away. It's snowing here, actually, but we only have like 1 millimeter, which doesn't even count. Yeah, we want real snow. We haven't had any real snow this winter. I just want it to like know what it's going to do before I leave the house without looking at the weather, though. We went from like 20 degrees Celsius to -5 Celsius today, and that was mean. But it's spring. It's what spring does. I have a diagram. I have a star. It is pulsating. It is doing all the things a pulsating variable star should do. What would you like to see me do? Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and happily optimize code somewhat. Yes, 1 millimeter of snow is powdered sugar on French toast. That is true, except the powdered sugar sticks better than the snow stuck. We do tend to measure temperature, except the way we talk about it in astronomy is often color. This isn't just one day. This is actually a Cepheid that I have sped up a great deal. And I've definitely stretched the color so that it can be seen by the eye. So this is a false color Cepheid variable star. The star is not hurting the weather is hurting the maple syrup industry. That is very, very true. The weather is hurting a lot of random bits of the economy that we don't think enough about. But that is far more depressing. Global warming is just hard. It's just hard. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to optimize code because that is less depressing than the environment. So I'm now using a variable to define my plot point, and I'm changing it in this if statement. I have now one of the things that I have floating all over in my code is this 3/2 pi, which is my phase offset. I'm actually going to set a variable for that because otherwise it's just this weird number floating around in my code. that someday I will be looking at, and I'll be like, why is there a 3/2 pie everywhere? And now I will know, because I labeled it. And me and my desire to align my equal signs are now going to align equal signs. There we go. So I can now come here and I can simply write in phase offset. And I'm going to find the next place I have 3/2. There it is. And I'm going to put in a phase offset there. I'm going to find the next one. Okay, so we're good on that. Yes, theatrical lighting texts use temperature for color as well. With astronomy, we just use color for temperature because we're weirdos. Oh, you're making me laugh with all of the maple syrup references. I'm trying to remember the name of a book I read recently. It was a fairly terrible book, but I still finished it. And one of the plot points was that aliens come to Earth, and it turns out their body chemistry causes them to, they have a heroin-like ecstasy associated with maple syrup and get highly addicted to it. And so maple syrup is the one important commodity we have we can trade with the aliens. So math, folks, is 3/2 pie a pie and a half? So who ate the other half of the pie? It is indeed a pie and a half. And usually it's either a mouse or undergrads, and I'm not always sure of the difference. I'm not going to try and figure out that Alien Nation sour milk. It was written by an American, and it was like the Vermont, New Hampshire maple syrup mafia, basically. Okay, looking for more code that can be cleaned a bit. So I have more of my crazy width and height stuff down here. So this is determining the plot and where that lands. So I have width 1/8. Yeah, this one I can't clean up because this is defining all the way across. Well, maybe I can. Width times I'm trying to figure out how to make sense of this. Okay, I'm going to try and write it out in my comments to try and figure out how to do this so things can be scalable. I want 45 points between width left and width left plus oh, sorry, not width left, that should be plot left and plot left plus plot width. Points should be every plot left plus I divided by 45 times plot width. I think I did that right. I have no clue if I did that right, but I know how to find out. And the way to find out is to type that monstrosity in here. So if I did this correctly, plus I need to turn that into a float or it won't work, divided by 45.0 times plot width. And this is plot height minus b. Okay, let's see if I successfully did that. Oh, no, almost, but not really. Oh, I know what I did. This should be plot bottom minus b. Let's try that. That did it. Okay. So now I have things in terms of variables everywhere. And I can get rid of this random comment. And hopefully, so this is the code you objected to last time, Michael. Have you noticed that you have a mock band around the center portion of your star? I don't know what a mock band is. I have limb darkening. Are you referring to the limb? I'm going to Google that word because you use words accurately. And you may have found a word that I don't know. Oh, you mean the optical illusion? Yes, there's this apparent really bright line here, and it's just the eyeball not knowing how to transition. Yeah, I've been really enjoying that, Michael, and I've been contemplating killing it off, but I enjoy it too much. I'm not sure, Ulysses. I think she'd like my cratering one better because this is just a variable star. Not really her kind of thing. And thank you, Michael. I now know another word that I didn't know before. Thank you. The maple syrup. And yes, there's so much silliness in the chat. You guys are fabulous. But thank you, Michael. I did not know that word. I knew that effect. I didn't know that word. Okay, so continuing to look for things in my code that would benefit from having variables added. Those are all pretty much variables. Okay, so the reason that we do everything as variables is currently I have this fairly well-sized just to this window kind of plot. But let's say that I wanted to make it have a different aspect ratio. So I did it square. Let's say that I wanted to do something that was instead 900 by 600. Now, it's quite possible that some of my stuff is going to go sideways, but it didn't. So it simply stretched out my diagram. So by doing everything based off of variables that are related to the size of my plot, ooh, the star is going to consume the word phase. Okay. So it turns out my code will cause the star to eat things at certain aspect ratios. But I now have something that scales quite nicely. Let's say that I wanted to do 1000 by 750. Let's see how that aspect ratio goes. Stop, play. So now everything just scales nice and friendly. Yes, it was phasing out phase. Well put. I am particularly pleased, and it's such a stupid little thing, but I'm particularly pleased that my little dot changes color with the star changing color. It's a little thing. It's a simple thing, but it pleases me more than it has any right to please me. Okay. How hard would it be defining line on the animation's XY to show how much the change is? I need more words, Fenmil. Do you mean with the star showing how much the star is changing in brightness? Okay, that shouldn't be that hard to do. Let me, the trick is what color to do it in. I think if I do it in 120 gray, it should be fine. Let me look to see where I define where the star goes. This is my plot. This draws the star. So the star is getting drawn here at width 2, height 2/3. Okay. I'm going to define a star position. Float star X. Float star Y. And I'll set what they're equal to once I go down and copy it, because I wasn't smart enough to do that the first time. Okay, let's scroll back up to the top. So there's my width, or my X position rather. And, oh, I can't do that, I bet, before I define. I don't think it lets me do that before I define width and height. Let's see what happens. I'm now amused to see what will happen. It worked. I have no idea how that worked. Okay. Oh, I didn't use those variables for anything. Let's see what happens when I use those variables. Star X. Star Y. And that also goes here. Star X. Star Y. So now let's see when we use our variables based on things that weren't defined. Yes, I have a drunken position. Okay, let's move that definition somewhere more useful. So I need to have those as generalized variables. I don't want to have to redefine them every frame, or 30 times a second, or 10 times a second, or how often I'm doing it. So I'm going to do them in the setup. Except now I'm redeclaring the float part. Let's not do that. Let's kill off the orange warnings. And voila, we have a star in its place. Why are you nervous? You're going to bork this M. You are not going. You are making good suggestions. So let's see. That's where it's doing the opacity. So when I add the grid lines, whoops, not in the for loop. I want to do a new for loop. Let's do 15 lines for, yeah, for I equals 0, I less than 15, I plus plus. Now I want to have the lines demarking the star, and the maximum radius of my star is defined in here somewhere. Radius of the star at most is going to be 1 radius mod 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 times the width divided by 2.5. That's a thing. I'm just going to do, what was I? It worked. I'm not going to try and figure out how I came up with that crazy ass variable. Okay. Commenting to show that I like my future self. What? You're still discussing maple. I now want maple syrup too. I actually want maple syrup candy. I don't know if any of you have had maple syrup candy. It is absolutely amazing and not something you can buy in the Midwest. Anyways, I'm going to draw lines. Draw lines. Every width divided by, let's take the entire width of the image, divided by 20. I don't want to draw all the way across the image. So let's do width divided by, let's do width divided by 30, and then I'm going to start, and how do I draw a line? I'm hitting the point in the week, even though it's only Tuesday, where my brain is like, no, you are not allowed to be able to think clearly. So line is x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. So line, I want it to start at, width divided by 2, which is my center. Let's actually start in the center of the star. So the center of the star is star X, and start at star Y. Now I have the width of the line that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do minus, I'm going to do plus because I want to drop down, plus, no, dang it, I'm going to start with minus because that's how my brain works. 1.0 divided by 2.0 times plot height. This will make sense, I promise. Star X. And then I'm going to go to star Y plus, so I'm drawing lines, the height of the plot centered on the star. So that's a line, but I want to do a bunch of lines, and I want to do them stepping out from the center. So the first one, where I equals 0, is this sucker. And then other than this sucker, I want their positions to be at plus I times, except I need to turn it into a float, I times the width divided by 30. Because why not? Now I need to do this for the bottom of the line as well. Now this only has the lines going out in one direction. I want to actually have this going out in both directions. So I'm going to do a minus version of this too. And I'm going to need to set its color somewhere. Let's try doing, I think this is fill of 120. We'll do it. Okay, I made a whole lot of changes. Let's see what happens. It drew nothing. Nothing. Why did you draw nothing, you silly thing? That makes me sad. Why did you draw nothing? Okay, I'm going to comment those lines out and try and do something much simpler. I'm going to also make it not a for loop. I'm just going to copy. Apparently, I'm just going to comment out that entire section. Why did you not draw a line? Coming up here. I'm wondering if I should have used stroke instead of line. These are the little things that drive me crazy. So fill, let's try fill 120 and make the line over at the edge of the screen. Make it at the edge of the screen. So I'm going to have it from a position of 50 to, and I want it to go up. So I'm going to keep my height stuff. No, I'm just going to be lazy. I'm going to do height minus 50, 50, comma, star, y, plus 50. Let's see if that line draws. Why are you not drawing a line? Line 50, star. I'm very confused. I see no line. Okay, let's try fill 255. This makes no sense. This is me scrolling up to find where I drew things before. So if I do this at the position plot left, let's see what happens. I'm so confused. Why is it not liking my star Y and star X? I shall keep simplifying my code until it draws a plot, until it draws a line. Stroke 255. That would be my problem. It's not the fill that I'm worried about. It's the stroke that I'm worried about. No, I still don't see it. I am so confused. So very, very confused. Okay. Give me one more line, you silly thing. Plot left, plot bottom minus 100, plot left, plot bottom minus 200. Okay, so that's got to give me a line. Yes, there's my line right there. Okay. So I may have had a line before and I just didn't see it because of where it was. So let's try going in the other direction, having remembered how lines work this time. Aha, I have a line. I feel better about that. Okay. So now I want my line to actually be at, let's move my line over to 50. 50. Okay, so I have a line. We've all witnessed my line. I'm now going to try and move it to star y minus 50 and star y plus 50. I have a line. Oh, you're right. I didn't have the numbers in there before, did I? I thought I did. No, oh crap, I was drawing a dot instead of a line. Wait, no, I wasn't, because this is minus 1/2 plot height and this is plus. No, so that wasn't my problem before. I'm just going to be confused as to what my problem was. I'm going to now try moving this code up to the top. Now the only problem is that will leave it getting drawn underneath. May not do that. So let's do stroke 255. Actually, I want 120. Fill 120. And I'm actually going to come up here and with this one try doing stroke 120 and see if that gives me a gray line. Can't tell if that's a gray line or just a thinner line. Fill 120. Okay, whatever. Let's come down here. I just didn't set the color before. I hate everything. But I found the bug. I didn't set the color, I set the fill. Okay, a whole lot of debugging. And sarcasm. You get debugging and sarcasm, all of it. Now, I've kind of gone overkill on these lines, so let's try and tame the lines a little bit. Taming of the lines. This is what I'm going to do next. I don't need as many as I drew. They can be more closely spaced together. They don't need to be nearly as tall as they are. So let's adjust all those things. Stop. Now I don't have enough lines. Okay. Dang it. I shall conquer this. No plot has been unplotted by me. There we go. There we go. That's much happier. Okay, so now I want to do it in the other direction. But first let me make sure it doesn't like overextend off the edges. Touch it and bounce, touch it and bounce. Touched it and bounced. Okay, nailed it. Pluto is a world. We're going to go with the word world. It's a word that does not discriminate. World is an excellent word. Okay, so let's see if I can get these going in the other direction now. Okay, how can I do this best? I want to have the exact same spacing. So let's do... That was not how I meant. Was that how I meant to do it? I guess maybe it was. I did something wrong. Oh, I see what I did. So there is my X, there is my Y. There is my X. There is my Y. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping the intervals that I had before and just changing the starting point and rotating how it's doing it. Okay. If I pull this off, it shall be glorious. Inevitably, there's going to be a bug, but maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I will get lucky. Okay, let's see. Maple syrup privilege, really? Really? Okay, they're not gorgeous. They're actually very clunky, but they're there and they work. And I bet I can do them in white and they'll show up just fine. Let's try that. $2.55. They're still too thick or too long. Let's make them shorter. There we go. I shortened them in one dimension. Let's now shorten them in the other dimension. I swear you guys are just here to talk about maple syrup tonight. That's all that matters is the maple syrup. There we go. Okay. Is that what you were talking about? Why is Pluto a Canadian? I do not understand. But I have a variable star and I have grids. You can now see all the expanding and contracting it's doing. I love your logic, Fenmel. I love your logic. Okay. So I think I'm going to call that a night. I did, however, bring one thing because one of the things that I've been talking about is the period luminosity relationship and how you have smaller stars pulsate faster, larger stars pulsate slower, and this has to do with the sound cavity. So I have two bottles here that have different amounts of liquid that you can't tell. So I'm going to do two pitches pitch 1 and pitch 2, and you need to figure out which one of these has the larger resonant area. Any of you who played musical instruments can probably figure this out. So this is note 1. This is note 2. 1 or 2, which one has the larger cavity and thus the lower period, slower period? Yes, so this one is utterly empty. Empty. This one I'm not going to flip upside down because it still has, in this case, cider in it. So yes, one has the larger cavity, the lower pitch, the slower frequency. It is the variable star that takes longer to pulsate. So now you know. Only one of them's empty, Paranor. Only one of them is empty. Okay, so I'm going to call this a night. You guys have been fabulous. I now desperately want maple sugar candy and can't have it. And I'm sad. Yeah, slower frequency was a bad way to put it. It has a longer wavelength and a lower frequency. I just think of it as slower. Yes, Keeper of Maps, I will check the airports. Oh, thank you, Eric. Yes, Pluto is a fabulous little world. It's a fabulous little world. Welcome, everyone. And next week, as I was saying at the beginning, I won't be here. I will actually be in Israel attending a conference. I hope to see Elad, who some of you know from the Weekly Space Hangout. I believe he's going to take me on a grand adventure with a few other folks. And instead, Big J may fill in for me. I know he'll fill in for me on Sunday. I may try and sneak something in later this week, but every time I've tried to say that in the past, something has ended up coming up. So no promises, but I have all of the best of intentions. I am going to try and figure out how to post a lot of pictures and things like that for my adventures in Israel and share. Thank you so much, Fenmil, for all the little happy diamondy bits. You make me so awesome. Squeak. Okay, I've lost all of my ability. Thank you for the stompy feet, Keeper of Maps. I like stompy feet. So yes. Does the disaster area base arrive at the same time as the symbol crash? I don't know. Anyways, that broke me. Thank you, Fenmil. I am going to do everything I can to share out information from the conference that I'm attending. Yeah, stay tuned. More information shall be yours. Speed of sound is not the same regardless of pitch. Light travels at the same speed regardless of pitch. Sound is a weird and trickier thing, and air is frustrating. Yeah, it depends on medium and temperature and all that sort of craziness. Yes, I have opinions about the speed of sound. It always screwed me up in physics because I wanted it to be as symmetric as light, and it is not. Anyways, before I go down the rabbit hole of the speed of light versus the speed of sound and why one of them is far more annoying than the other to deal with, I'm going to wander off and tell all of you to have a fabulous morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. And don't forget, you can go outside if it is clear and not snowing like it is doing here. You can go outside, look up, and see variable stars. And some of them are pulsating fast enough that over a single evening, you can actually see them change in brightness. So beware of the improbability drive, and beware of the rain, and do not be the whale, be the petunia. Kudos to anyone who got all of those references. I will see you all next time, and be well wherever you may be in the world. Bye-bye.